You're listening to Copper and Heat Radio. I'm Katie Osuna. Today we're bringing you the second panel recording from the Roux event in Portland, Oregon that was done in collaboration with Xcelerate Women. Roux is an event series launched in October of 2019 in Portland to celebrate women and underrepresented voices in the food and beverage industries. And Xcelerate Women is an organization that helps women business owners overcome systemic inequalities to grow their businesses and build economic power. This panel delves into the stories and highlights the diverse journeys and cultural influences of four entrepreneurs exploring the impact cultural heritage has on product development, as well as their views on marketing and business growth. I was in the audience for the event, and the panel was moderated by Viridiana Ponce, so I'm going to pass it to Abby Geyer, Executive Director of Xcelerate Women, to introduce Viridiana.
So thank you, everyone, for being here. Xcelerate is a nonprofit, and we're a transformative community that supports Oregon's women and gender-expansive business owners on their journeys to success. We offer one-on-one coaching, peer mentorship, and growth education. Last year, we served 570 women in 25 Oregon counties. We are about 60% in Portland Metro, 14% in fully rural communities. If you have a small business and you want to learn more, you can look for me. You can also look for Jen and Matea, who are both in the back. Our board member, Ronisha Hayes, is here tonight as well. So with that, I'm going to introduce our moderator, and then you all can take it from here. Our moderator is Viridiana Ponce. She is a Latina finance and food expert who has helped thousands of entrepreneurs launch and grow their businesses in both Spanish and English. As an Xcelerate coach, she helps women-owned food, bev, and CPG businesses with their financial projections, with finances, with navigating funding. She started VP Consulting in 2014 with the mission of educating, enriching, and empowering her community. Please welcome Viri Ponce.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much to our panelists. So what I'm feeling right now, I'm feeling so energized of being in this room surrounded by all these incredible makers, business owners, community members, and it's because this doesn't happen very often. And I'm so grateful to Xcelerate and to Roux for putting on this event where we are celebrating women business owners in the food and beverage industry. So we're gonna do a little crowd participation activity. So I want you to, on the count of three, to shout out, and this is gonna be everybody, I want you all to shout out a word that describes how you're feeling right now. Ready? Think about your word. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more time. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Okay, didn't hear all of them, but really positive, great energy. Thank you so much. So my name is Viridiana Ponce, and one of the reasons why this is so special to me is because I work with Latina women in the food industry, and I've been doing this for over 10 years now. And as Abby was saying, I work with financial projections, helping them with planning, securing funding. But I think most importantly, it's that I get to help women make more money and really turn their culinary dreams into a reality. And so that for me is life-changing and something that I love doing. And one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, why food? Why do I focus on food? And this was something that I hadn't really thought about, and I would just say, it just happened. But when I really thought about it, I was like, it's not a coincidence that this is what I do. I grew up in a small business household, immigrant household, with a mom whose love language is cooking. So every day, my mom would cook a different Mexican dish, every single day. Bless her heart, because I can only do that like twice a week. And so what I realized is that this really helped us stay connected to our ingredients, to our language, to our family, and to our culture. And so even though we grew up in the US, we still have a really strong tie to our Mexican identity. And that's something that I see with all my clients as well, as that the majority of their food is a representation of what they do and what they love and their stories and their culture and where they come from. And I'm always really curious when I see products on the shelf or in small markets or at different farmers markets to really learn about those stories. And today we get to do that. We get to really learn about the women behind the brand. We get to learn about their journeys. We get to talk about scaling, and we get to talk about navigating the many challenges that there are in the CPG world. So with that said, let's get started and let's get to know our amazing panelists. And we're going to start with Holly.
Hi, everybody. My name is Holly. I'm the maker and co-founder for Sibeho. We make Singaporean award-winning sambals and food right here in Portland, Oregon.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sandra Arnerich, and I am the owner of Renata Wood-Fire Frozen Pizza. We have been in the market since 2020, and we operate from the Central East Side in Portland.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Lunn, and I'm one of the co-founders of Suji's. Suji's is an offshoot of our restaurant Cameo Cafe, which has been here for over 30 years. I think many of you have been there. Thank you so much. Suji is actually in this room, who is my mom, and so the company is branded off of her. Thank you. And so it's a sauces and spices company. We're really happy to be here. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christina Jesse. I am the bakery sales manager with Market of Choice. So I review a lot of local products, and also in the part of bakery where we make our own items, I do a lot of sourcing. So I have a lot of experience.
Thank you so much. Yes. Applaud. Okay, we're going to get started. So this is for the business owners. So how did you decide on your particular path in the CPG world, and what inspired you to take this route? Yeah, we're going to start with Holly.
I moved here in late 2018, and I've lived in different parts of the world besides Singapore, and everywhere I've gone, because my country is really small. It's so small that you can't see on the map, and our food always gets lost. In all the other Asian food, but we have a multicultural food that's influenced by Malay, Chinese, Indian, and even our Malay, Chinese, Indian is not the same as what's in China or India as it is. So every time we have to explain what we are, I always found the easiest way to explain it was through food. So when I first moved here, I used to come for work quite a fair bit, and then I cooked because I miss home, and I started to look at what was available here from a produce ingredient perspective. We chose to do sambals as a starting point, specifically because once you have it in your fridge or your pantry, you can create food like a meal very quickly in 20 minutes or so. So growing up, my mom was a working mom, but we always had home-cooked meals, basically because she had sambal in the fridge, and she could make meals that were healthy and they were full of flavors. That's something we would eat, because as kids, you're always picky, right? So that was kind of the start of what we did. And then we got a bit lucky during COVID in a way. We had to pivot quite a fair bit because we started just before then. But I was part of Xcelerate Women's. And Xcelerate was miraculous. They found some way to get all the buyers, because remember, we were all stuck at home, right? And we couldn't do anything. So all the buyers were stuck sitting in their living rooms or their chairs, and we had somehow the product got there to them, and we pitched. And they were all interested in our product because from a global flavors perspective, it was something that wasn't very readily known. In the US, there's only one sambal that everybody seems to know, the one, the green cap. It's not my first choice to eat because I like to say better stuff at home. So in any case, we started, and one of the reasons why we chose to do that one was also because Oregon and Washington is United States' largest olive growers. So all your onions and your garlic, a lot of it is grown out here. So because it is grown out here, we could look for organic product, and wanted to make Asian food that we grew up eating, that it's not unhealthy for you, right? So that's kind of how we started, and we got validation via the buyers, because I remember there was Market of Choice, John was in the room, and then there was World Foods, and New Seasons, Laurie was there. Everybody from the Oregon, Portland community in the food buying world was on that screen. There was 6 people's faces there, I remember. And we pitched, and then they said, yeah, when you have product that's ready to ship out, we'll take your product. That gave us validation that there was something that we could do and create food that was close to us, and that's got us started. And then we won Good Food Awards for it. So that was also very helpful to validate, because Good Food gave us a platform nationally to retailers who didn't know what the product was, and allowed us to tell the story and then get people to taste it. Because when we are at mercantiles, at trade shows, the fact that you have the Good Food label on it, they're more readily wanting to taste, and then like curious, right? And Poland is a foodie town, so people are curious to try new flavors and to find new innovative ways to cook something healthy that tastes like you spent hours in the kitchen, but actually you didn't. So that's what we started with sambal. We won other awards in the snack category. That was completely by accident. Basically because we are allowed as a brand to submit 3 or 4 items, and then we had an extra one, so we just kind of put that in. But we won it, and it took us time to commercialize it because that wasn't on our roadmap at all. But whatever the case was, we're very grateful for the Poland community for taking to our product, and organizations like Xcelerate and Roux who put things up and allow us to come and talk about our home food.
When I'm asked how Renata Pizzas came to be, I always say that our story started with a cow. Back in 2020, when the governor shut everything down, I had 3 restaurants, almost 50 employees. And on that Monday, we also happened to have a cow delivery. The butcher came to me and said, hey, we have this cow delivery. What should we do? And I said, well, I'm laying off all these people. I don't know what to do. And we realized that if we were to send this cow back, Pat and Tam, who were the farmers, would have to probably throw the cow away. So we took the cow, and that kind of pushed us into trying to figure out what we were going to do, not only with the cow, but with a core of employees that we thought we would keep for the next 2 weeks until we could reopen. And that threw us into a journey of, meal kits and pantry and all the things, trying to just stay alive for long enough so we could reopen our restaurants. And in that trial and error of the pandemic, we started testing pizzas. And it took us a little bit of testing until we landed on a product that we were very happy with, that translated well at home after being frozen, because we recognized that we were all stuck at home and our food choices weren't great. Especially for frozen pizza, there is a big gap between convenience and quality. So with that in mind, we put our pizzas on our website, and people love them. We couldn't keep them. And so that gave us a pretty good idea that we had a good product. So with that, we went to New Seasons, presented our product, and they said, okay, we want 3,000 pizzas in 3 weeks with branding, packaging, and nutritionals. Can you do it? And I said, of course. So I walked out of that meeting and went to my team and told them what I had just agreed to. And they looked at me and said, are you crazy? And I said, well, maybe, but we're going to give it a shot. We might make it. Sure enough, 3 weeks later, we delivered 3,000 pizzas with branding, packaging, and nutritionals. And we went into CPG out of just pivoting and necessity. And fast forward to today, we are in about 250 stores throughout the Pacific Northwest, and just started distributing also in California. So we're slowly growing, and it's been quite the ride.
So we have a kind of a two-part story. The first part originates with my mother, of course. Suji, who is the brand of Suji's, she came to the United States from Seoul, Korea, in her mid-30s. Raised me as a mom, and then in her late 40s, she opened up the Cameo Cafe in 1992, which is in Northeast Sandy, 81st and Sandy. So, as a South Korean who loves spicy food, right? Kimchi every day, hot pepper sauce in every meal. In the early 90s, there really wasn't a lot of hot sauce options, unlike there is today at Portland, right? When you go to the store and you have maybe like 24 hot sauces to choose from. So at that time, she sells eggs, omelets, hash browns, of course, the Acre pancake. And she felt that, her customers really needed something to have that spicy flavor. Personally, she really needed something to have that spicy flavor in her food. So she started thinking about, how can I make a hot sauce that would fit both her personal taste and then also her customers' personal taste. It's a little sweet and spicy, right? Not that spicy just that you might find in a Korean sauce. And so she developed the sauce, and one day she, went around to her customers and just did little taste testings here and there, and started squirting the sauce on people's plates. And they're like, "What are you squirting on my plate?" And one day a customer who tasted it said, "Oh, baby, this is good." And that is how Oh Baby hot sauce was made. And it had been, I worked in the restaurant since the age of 12. Don't tell that to any, regulators here. Yes, that was a little bit of child labor. But, when I grew up in this business here and seeing my mom and seeing our family work in the restaurant, and, I went off in a different path. I went off to go to Washington, D.C. to do national security and work for the U.S. government. But, it has always come back to me, and with customers loving our hot sauce, and being I think a personal legacy of my mother, it was something that I wanted to do about a couple of years ago, and that I wanted to really, create this legacy for my mom and also spread the joy of this hot sauce to people kind of all around Portland too, that may not just be going to the Cameo Cafe. So that's kind of comes into my story, and where I took a class. I learned about the Get Your Recipe to Market class that the Portland Community College does, a small business development center. And I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time and taking this virtual class in my evenings after my full-time job and, doing it week after week, flying back to Portland time after time and developing the recipe for retail. I guess that was maybe 2 years ago that we went on this journey. And over the last year, we're now at Market of Choice, Made Here, and Well Spent Market, and maybe going into a few others. But really, it is really the Portland community that allowed us to do that. And forums like Xcelerate, like Built Oregon, like the Small Business Development Center of PCC, and the mentors that come with all of these programs that really allowed us to be successful and here today. And I see one of them actually in this room, Lori Spencer, who was a wonderful mentor of ours and customer too. So it was a nice blend. And really, we could not have done this without the community here in Portland supporting us along the way. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And Christina, so can you tell us what inspired you to work with local makers, and what do you look for when you are thinking of, when you're selecting different vendors for Market of Choice?
Well, we definitely want to represent a wide spectrum of cultures, and we want people to be able to come into our stores and have that emotional connection with the food. It's like, oh, I haven't seen that since my grandma's house, or, so the more that we can come together, just in our community and connect with people, we're able to make our selection better. And, but that whole shock and awe of going down the aisle, it's like, oh, that's sweet. I didn't think I could find that anywhere. So that's what we're going for. Me personally, growing into this job, my mom was a self-taught baker, and my dad was a horticulturalist. So we had this huge acre property with all these wonderful things to bake with. So I just took an opportunity. It was a very organic. I didn't wake up and say, I want to be a sales manager someday. But, it just fit in with market of choice values, the way I was raised fit right in.
Thank you so much. And I mean, what I see in common with all of you is the importance of community and how the community, you've been there for the community, but they've been there for you. And then also that you're risk takers, right? When you talked about Sandra, you're like, yeah, I'll do the pizzas, even though you probably hadn't figured everything out. That's incredible. And with your mom, right, Kim, when you're like, yeah, we're gonna make those sauces without knowing everything. But I love that you put yourself out there, you learned, and then you sought out different resources. I think it's really important. So let's talk about any unconventional strategies or practices that you've taken in your business. So are there any, unconventional strategies that you think have contributed to your success? And then we're going to start with you, Kim.
Unconventional strategies. I think our whole process was unconventional, right? Being one, taking the restaurant experience, which is very different than the retail market, and having to take a recipe and then figure out a new process to sell something that would be workable in a grocery store, right? And then doing that also not being, although my mom in the restaurant is local here, but me personally not being physically here every day and across the country, that was very, I think, unconventional, right? And I think it was really, again, the community that helped and the mentorship, because we were able to do this virtually in a lot of these, groups that I would be involved in, whether it was an email group or it was, the virtual classes that I took or the mentorship that I had a Zoom call with. And it was just every step in the process, learning as you go, and then creating small kind of goals and milestones for yourself to hit that goal. And I think for everybody here in this room, I think that makes it very doable, right? Because you can learn on the go and wherever you sit, essentially, because that's what we did. And so I think that was probably the one thing that stands out for me is just being able to kind of do a lot of this virtually. Of course, I had to come back here to Portland several times a year to see the process and be here for that. But that was probably the biggest thing.
Well, I kind of feel like you. I think that it was all very unconventional. I think that what really played in our favor was that it was pandemic. And so the trucks were coming in full of toilet paper because somehow we all thought that that's what we needed. And so there was not a lot of food on the shelves. And when we got to market, we many times were the only frozen pizza on the shelves. So that was that was out of the ordinary. Now that I'm navigating the market as a normal market, I see how lucky we got with timing. And I will second what you said as well. I think that Laureate Market of Choice and Laureate New Seasons and John and Market of Choice have been instrumental in just teaching me what CPG means and what a promo is. And just going into this process is a lot of learning because it's a brand new world. And so having those people and that sense of community where we're all in to help each other has been invaluable for my company.
I think for us, for the unconventional part was a lot also due to the fact that when we first started, the peppers that we were looking for that made our sambals taste correct, or at least in authentic, like how I would eat them at home, we ended up needing to we looked for a long time, and via an organization called Outgrowing Hunger, we found they work with refugee farmers, and they had a group who are Rohingya refugee farmers, which is very close to our part of the world, and they grew these peppers that tasted correct. So we started that process with them, and then I remember being out somewhere, because remember we were stuck, we couldn't go anywhere, everywhere was closed, but the nurseries were all open. So I was in the middle of nowhere in north somewhere, Portland or east, I can't remember, but I remember going to a nursery and then looking at plants, and then I saw a pepper that looked very similar to what we have back home. I grew that outside my shop. We had a kitchen on Northwest 23rd, and then it grew miraculously, and then there was fruits. And then I took those seeds, I started giving to the other farmers. So today we have Kasama Farms who grow out for us out in Gresham and also near Mount Hood. But because they grow for us, we know that the peppers are correct. But as we go, we didn't choose to scale tremendously because we were constrained by what we could do capacity-wise. And also by, if tomorrow somebody comes to me with, oh, we can put you in $200, I'm like, no, I don't have product for you. Because my farmers are growing it as they are. I mean, I can probably find somebody or in California, but I was trying to work with the diversity of the crops here and to find people who could grow from us. And the funny thing is, I think when they do the starts, one of my farmers, that because we don't know the name, I couldn't find a label, they just call it Holly's peppers. So it's quite funny. I have a picture of that somewhere.
Can we buy Holly's peppers somewhere?
Yeah, spicy.
Thank you so much. I think that oftentimes we think that there's like point A to point B, and there's, the right steps. And you just shared that, no, sometimes we just have to start from the point where we're at and then figure it out and get creative and get resourceful and reach out to people. So I think that's really important when we do have a business, that we don't have to have everything all figured out. We can figure it out on, along the way. So you talked about the peppers being right. And that, that gets to my next question about culture and how has, I'd love to know from all of you, how has culture impacted your business strategies or your marketing or your branding? And then Holly, let's start with you.
Actually, our packaging and our branding has not changed since day one, partially because my background has been in brands as well. I work for some of the best well-known brands in the world, but I also have friends who are doing that kind of stuff, right? So when I had a very clear idea in my head, but the thing is, I'm not from here. I don't know a lot of things. So when we first started, I will always remember this, my barcode was the wrong size. So it would not scan. So for about maybe 6 months, every day, my friends and everybody was coming in to restick all our barcodes. And I remember going to John and going, oh my God, John, I'm so sorry, it's the wrong size. He said, don't worry, just put a sticker over it. I'm like, oh, you can do that? Because in my head, I was thinking, oh my God, because my old brands, we had to execute at such a level. There was no such thing as putting a sticker over it. We will have to reprint everything. And as a small brand, we don't have cash, right? So that was one of the key things that I was like, oh, it is possible, just ask the experts for help. And then they've been through all of it, so they kind of know what to do. So I'm very grateful for a lot of people in this room and also on there's a Google group. If you are in the food CPG world, you have to get into this Google group. I call it go ask any kind of question that I can think of questions, because somebody would have had that experience somewhere and somebody will answer you.
When you say culture, I think of home, and like how my culture has informed what I'm doing right now. And I'm from Colombia, so pizza is not my thing over there. But I do come from a legacy of cooks, and food it's in my blood, and it's what I do and how I love and what I do when I'm stressed out. And so I don't know. I think that legacy of my family and how honoring ingredients and process and being really honest with what you're serving, that for me is what informs everything that I do every single day when I show up to work. I want to produce food that is that will be food that I serve to my kids. And if I don't serve it to my kids, I will not sell it because it's not what I would believe in. So that's what comes up for me with that culture, with what I'm doing now.
So I think our brand Suji's really embodies the culture of my mom's culture, South Korea. But it also embodies, I think, me personally being a mix of cultures too. Obviously, she's the brand, she's South Korean. The origination of it was the hot, spicy food and the reason why we have this, the sauce today. And in our barbecue sauce, it also has gochujang. So it mixes a traditional tomato-based barbecue sauce that you would find, at your local barbecue counter, right? But then we add in the Korean spice to that. And then in our spicy seasoning salt, it's a sea salt that has Korean kind of gochujang flakes. But then we have Italian parsley and basil in it too. My father was Italian and German. If you remember him, he ran the Northwest Cameo for many years, Charlie. And, my mother's Korean. And so really it's kind of a mix. And I think when we celebrate culture, when we celebrate who we are as a country today, it's not just one country, culture or another. It really is a mixture of us. And we all might be a little bit of something, right? And we all might enjoy a little bit of flavor, a combination of flavors. And I think that's something that Suji's, the brand, really does and is trying to embody is that it's not just one or the other. It really is kind of a mix.
Thank you. And Christina, a slightly different question for you, but still related. So how do you maintain cultural authenticity in your product selections? And what impact has that had on the marketability of the products?
Well, listening to our customers and what they need and having conversations with people is huge to help us choose the products that our community needs. I'm sorry, what was the second part?
What impact has it had on the marketability of the products?
Okay, cool. Well, again, it was like I've said before, when you come down the aisle and you just can't believe, it's like, I can't find this in any other store. And this is the way my grandma made it. I mean, it's really important. In our Scratch Bakery area, a lot of the recipes we use are ones from my family that, that's my sister-in-law's angel food. And, it's just things that they've brought. And it's like, well, it's good and it's simple and it's great. And people, enjoy just losing a lot of the extra things to make it last longer or, it's just sugar and flour and butter. So.
Thank you. And Holly, this question's for you, related to cultural influence. So what challenges have you faced in maintaining cultural authenticity while scaling your business?
I think one of the key things that we've really tried to do was to stay I've had a lot, people come through, they've either been Singaporeans, Malaysians, Indonesians, they'll taste my product and say, oh, it tastes like home. I'm like, yeah, we did not change anything about that when we were making it, because the blue one that you guys have all on your chest, that's my mom's recipe. I grew up eating that. And we have a green one, a green label, that's my best friend's mom. So it's called AF, but it's not what you think it is. It's Auntie Feathers, actually. That's the short form for that. And then Booms is Pat's, my business partners, families. So back home, what happens is and I learned this as well from other friends who, from different cultures. We don't make, it's like kimchi. You make one and then you trade the different ones because all of them take a lot of time to make. So nobody actually, there's a specialty for every family. So my family makes this one and we trade with the other families for whatever the sambals are. So that's one of the fun things that I don't really talk about, but essentially that's exactly what it is when I grew up. And I remember the last time I went home, I hadn't been home for about 2 years, and I took the green one and I went to see Auntie, and she was laughing because she could see her name on it. So that was a nice thing.
I thought it was the other thing. So not Auntie Feathers. I love that I learned that today. Sandra, do you want to also answer that question, or Kim? What challenges have you had in maintaining cultural authenticity as you grow?
I think, I think it hasn't really been a challenge necessarily. I think it's been an opportunity, right? It's been an opportunity for us to highlight our culture. It's been an opportunity for me to highlight my mom and her background. As I said, she's an immigrant here that came to the United States in her 30s, been through the Korean War, even though she may not look like it. She has gone through a lot. And so it really was an opportunity for me, and being a kind of a local celebrity, right, is to really kind of honor her. And I don't know, maybe that brings back to the Korean heritage, right? Honor the family, right? Bring honor to your family. But it really was kind of a personal labor of love to do that here, and for her. And for I think all of us in this room, right, that are bringing our cultures here to Portland, which is, I think, Portland is so great because it really embraces culture. And events like this, right, we're using this day, Indigenous Peoples Day, to embrace culture. And so I think, for me, it's I haven't hit the challenge part. I think the challenge for us will be taking this story, and if we decide to go beyond Oregon, right, where we're known, or Portland, that's going to be, I think, a challenge for me, because people aren't going to know our story. People have gone to the Cameo or to know us as, being here in Portland. So that's probably going to be the challenge for me, is how do I take our story, my mom's story, and then scale that down the road if we choose to go there.
I think you need to do a national tour with your mom.
We would love that. You in for that, Mom? Yeah? Yeah.
I would love to go too. Take me. Okay, we're gonna change gears a little bit. We're gonna talk about finances. So, what financial strategies have been most effective for you in managing the growth of your CPG brand? And then, if we can talk about securing funding and managing cash flow. Kim, would you like to take that first?
Sure. Yeah. So I think, we, are very small, right? So separate to the restaurant, which Suji's is a different company. We're small, and honestly, it's been a lot of our kind of personal savings, right? Putting into this business, seeing where it could go, hoping that the return will either have us break even, right? Or maybe make, some pennies or nickels or whatever. And so, I think that's kind of where we're at right now. We're still very small. We're just entering the market. I don't know where our journey will take us. I hope it will continue to be on a successful path, and that we may, need funding down the road. But right now, we're happy with where we're at, and just being able to get, I think, ourselves into the community a bit more. So,
thank you, Sandra.
Well, I think that anybody that's here that owns a small food business can say that cash flow is probably the most challenging thing that we deal with. I think that it is a little bit of a balancing act on how you choose to grow. And because there are things that could look really shiny, like, oh my God, I just got an order from Costco, and you think that you just reached the stars. And then if you don't have funding, if you don't have your logistics, like, there are so many other pieces to it, and mainly cash flow, what kind of cash you're going to need to deliver these big orders. It's the biggest challenge. So I think that just like pausing and understanding what that big shiny thing will cost you and how you're going to get to that. For me, I have been trying to grow the business pretty organically, because cash flow is a challenge. And so I think that's probably the biggest challenge for all of us. Yeah.
No, I'm just laughing because I had a conversation with Renata just before, because we were talking about cash flow. Very exciting and very unsexy, actually, but very critical when you're running your own business, because financial planning is very, very critical to what you're doing. You can write the plan, but at least you have a plan that you can work towards and not be boondoggled by some shiny thing. But cash is king because right now my farmers, they don't do terms. They all want cash because they've been waiting for it because they need to pay other people. And once they deliver the harvest, they want cash for it. So it's a lot of juggling. And if you can spend time, it's very critical for small business owners to learn how to read a spreadsheet. And learn how to know where your inventory planning is, where your cash is tied up, and what you're spending your money on. Sure, in the ideal world, you make more money than you spend, but then it's also like for a lot of small makers, like ourselves, the end of the season is critical because that is your make or break kind of year. Since we started in like just before COVID in 2019, 2020, every year I'm thinking, oh, am I going to make it this year? Because the last quarter is so critical for a lot of product that you're going to sell because that's your key time. When if you make it, you can go one more year. If you don't make it, you're going to think, okay, how am I going to make this work next year as well? And you kind of figure it out. But if you don't have a good grasp, talk to Xcelerate. Xcelerate has lots of coaches. Go ask them, need somebody to sit down and just do 101. You don't have to do critical, crazy projections, but as long as you know what that somebody's there to guide you, that's always a very critical thing to learn how to. And of course, a lot of small business owners, I think we're like eternal optimists. We're always thinking, oh, tomorrow's going to be okay.
Yeah, and so I work with Latina business owners and women of color business owners with their finances. And what you just said, Holly, is so important that we don't have to be financial experts, but you do have to take the time to know your numbers, do the recipe, the recipe costing, understand how much it is going to cost you to go into stores. But you don't have to be an accountant. You don't have to be a bookkeeper, but you do have to invest time. So did you ladies think you were going to be spending as much time on the finances than what you spend in the kitchen?
My whole life was Excel spreadsheets. So I did have a little bit, but I also had experts in it. I don't consider my Excel expert because I cannot write macros to save my life, but I know how to link certain things and just kind of look at it. Being able to read something that's all very squiggly is very important. But I love spending more time in the kitchen. It's way more fun than looking at a computer screen.
Hire people, right? Hire people and surround yourself with experts. Christina, will you talk to us a little bit about what are some hidden costs that makers may not anticipate when going into retail partnerships?
Definitely. So one of the biggest things right now is freight. How are you going to get the product to the stores? And, that can really, it's been really crazy for the last few years. And one of the cool programs that we have at Market of Choice is we will use our backhauls. So it's called the Mojo program. So you can drop the product off at one of our locations. We've actually expanded how many locations people can drop the product off, and then we will take it on our trucks and distribute it out to all of our stores. So, and that is just becoming a really important part for helping people get going. Another really cool thing that you don't have to go into all of our stores. You can go into one store and get some, make some money by just selling a little bit, and then you can go into another store and slowly build. It's just a really special program, and to have the flexibility to work with different people, it's really fun.
Thank you. Any other expenses that you think a small business owner, and this could be, I'm going to open it up to the panel. Yeah, any other expenses that they should anticipate?
So it's really important to know your real food cost and to source well. Because right now, cost is more of a factor in the marketplace than it's been for a little while, and so we're doing a lot of work with people who come and they bring you your product, and it's marked at a retail price instead of a wholesale price. So then by the time we put our markup on it, then it's just really out of range of being a viable product. So dialing it back. Sourcing well, try to get the best deals on your key items. And then, it gives you a better base of where to start if you have your accurate food cost.
Thank you.
I think distribution is one that gets overlooked, especially when you're just starting. If you are considering a national distributor like KeHE or UNFI, just know there are a lot of hidden fees, a lot. They will not pay you on time. They will tell you that they lost this many cases of product and this is how much you owe them back. So do your due diligence for national distributors, especially when you're just in Portland. It's a sweetheart deal, and that's not kind of how it works elsewhere.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I have clients who, the ones that really take a look at like their numbers, or they have someone that's helping them review their numbers, that's when they're able to catch that the distributors aren't paying everything or they're not paying on time. And so we've seen a switch with the distributors when my clients have really good record keeping. And then all of a sudden they're not losing, those cases anymore. And so I think it goes back to paying attention to our numbers. And once again, it doesn't have to be you who's reviewing them, but having someone either on your team, or if it does have to be you, have really good record keeping. That'll help out. Anything else that any of you wants to share in terms of financial strategies, or a tip that you want to provide?
I would just say that this is an area that was new to me. I didn't have any financial background in this. And I think I really had to leverage the mentors of the different programs like Xcelerate, Women and others to really kind of help me crunch the numbers. So, because it's, I mean, at least for me, it was not an innate thing. And something that, I think we continue to try to work on. So I just wanted to double down on that.
There is another thing too to watch when you're sourcing products. You just want to buy when the market's low. With butter's been crazy high, and I watch butter all the time because we use a ton of butter. And but just some of these key markets, if you can capitalize on the product when it's lower, it really makes a huge difference.
Thank you. Okay, so we're wrapping up for the structured question. So Holly, we're going to start with you, and then we're going to go down the line. So what's your secret sauce that sets your business apart? Holly Peppers?
I think I don't think we try to be anything that we're not. And if I can't, I'll just say it. I can't. And if we can, we'll say yes. But one of the key things is saying yes more often than you say no. Because when Xcelerate asked, do you want to do this? And this was back in April. I said yes to everything. And then we figure it out. It's like Renata said, right? When you guys were doing your pizza, we'll go figure it out later. So it's like, yeah, it's like we have a doll back in Asia where you hit it, it comes back up. It's called the putaong. So basically, you just keep going. If you keep going and you ask for help, I think that's going to be very critical to your success or not.
I think for our product, just as a food product, it's definitely that we are a handmade product and we are wood fire. So that really sets us apart from any other frozen pizza on the market right now. And as a business, what is repeatedly coming up for me is, and I was talking to you guys about that earlier, is knowing what's enough and how far you go for how long, and pausing and just saying, okay, do I really need that big next step, or is this enough right now? That doesn't mean that you don't want to grow. It just means that it's better to do it slowly than to go for it too fast.
Yeah, and I think for us, it's just having a really good quality product, right? And a product that you can stand by, that we knew had been tried and true because customers loved it. And so I think, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that whatever you have, it's of quality, of really good ingredients, And so I think that was one thing. And then the other is, I think, just the joy and the energy that comes with our brand, I think, right? That exudes from my mom in particular. And so I think that's, something that I think we try to set ourselves out compared to others in terms of just, her story. And then I would totally echo what my fellow colleagues here said, that just taking it step by step, right? And taking small goals for yourself, I think really does lend yourself to accomplishing what you want to accomplish at the end of the day. If you just kind of take baby steps, but be very deliberate and also realistic about how you can accomplish those things.
So I think when you do run into a roadblock somewhere, just taking pause and looking at another angle, you can approach it. Sometimes the shotgun effect, one of them hits, right? So don't give up. Definitely don't give up. But a lot of times, though, you can be really frustrated because you run into what seems to be an impossible situation, and rely on your team and your people around you. And sometimes they'll see things that's like, hey, have you thought of this? So being flexible is really important, I think.
Thank you so much. Any last key advice that you would have for aspiring entrepreneurs? And Sandra, why don't we start with you?
I think that there is a fine line, but I think that just knowing that it's not a quick thing, that it's a road, and you might want to start your business and say, I'm going to sell in 2 years and I'm going to be out. That's great, but that probably won't happen. So just knowing that it's a long road and that you're in for a marathon, a very, very long marathon, and just show up for it every day. Because what I find is that there are many times that I just want to be like, I need to sit down. I can't run this marathon anymore. I'm tired. Like we don't have cash flow, or we don't know how we're going to produce, or my employees are sick. Like there are so many things that come up all the time. But it's the mindset of okay, this is just one thing. I'm in for the long road, and keep showing up for it. And also at some point, know when it's enough. And if you do have to step back and be like, that was a nice run, that is also an option. I think that the mentality of never, ever give up, it can get tricky.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Holly?
I think we'll get more no's than yes. But when people say, or they say no politely in whichever way they say, I think the more important question to remember to ask is at least ask why and how. Because then most of the time, if you don't take it personally and just keep asking, more often than not, you at least learn something out of the process. And then sometimes a no is really a no. You just walk away. It's not you. It's not whatever. And you don't take it personally. And I think that's one of the key things. It's like, you can't win them all, so it's fine.
Thank you. Kim?
Yeah, and I think you really have to love with what you do, right? In whatever occupation it is. And if it's launching a new business, you really have to be passionate and love it. Even in the restaurant business, you go in every day on the weekends, you have to really love being with people, doing the business work, which is really, really difficult. And with creating a new business like this, I really loved doing this. I was really passionate about doing this, but I also knew that I had to set realistic expectations for myself. And it was something that I had been thinking about for over a decade doing. And one day I just was like, we're going to get this done. This is my goal. This is my timeline. This is who I need to talk to get this information, because I have no idea how to do this. And then just setting each goal step by step and knowing that you don't have to do everything all at once. It can be a process. And then you look back upon that, right? That journey of a year, and you're like, wow, I actually, even though I, took things each day, one thing each day or one thing a week, actually it culminates into something much larger. And so I would just say, if this is something that you're really interested in, knowing that you don't have to, You don't have to win it, right at the beginning. It can, as you said, it's a long journey.
Well, I want to, if we can give a round of applause to our panelists. Thank you so much. I think some of my key takeaways were, don't do it by yourself, right? There's resources, right? Like Xcelerate or other organizations that can help you out and to seek out mentors or guidance. And then the other thing is, it's not a marathon. It takes time to build a business, and also know your finances, of course. And then I think also making sure that you are treating the people around you, right? Like Suji was saying, how the way that you treat people is really important. And so I think that was something really beautiful to add. And I just want to encourage everybody who's here that you're helping us celebrate these incredible women, and not just today, not just for holidays or specific months, but that we're doing this year round, as Holly was sharing, that especially at the end of the year, it's really critical for the livelihood of these businesses. And so I always think about the way that I spend my money matters. And so I really just want to encourage all of us to be real conscious about the way that we are spending our money, and that the products that you have to offer are something that's really unique, really diverse. And it comes from, there's a beautiful story related to it. And for all of you entrepreneurs out there, or aspiring entrepreneurs, there's resources. Make sure that you are connecting, with business owners that have gone through this before, that you're connecting with organizations like Xcelerate and many other organizations that are here in Portland who are here to support you, and you don't have to do it on your own. So thank you so much. I'm going to pass it over to Abby now.
Thank you so much to both the Xcelerate Women and Roux teams for having us at the event to record this panel, and to OpenSignal for taking care of the live audio setup. Thank you so much for listening.